And we're back. So what we want to do now, okay, well, not now. I've had 15 minutes. Well, I can look at it later. So we've added delete. We've got our confirmation and our delete page working. So what we want is to add a fourth column. We're going to make delete the fifth column. We want an edit column in here instead. So when the user clicks edit, what should they see? What should we show them? Which page should they see? Yeah, we should take them back to the form page that we built in week 2, and what should we do with that form? What should happen on there? I mean, right now when we load that, should we show them a blank form?
No. It should have been out fill in.
Right, so let's take them here, but let's pre-fill all of their information so the user can change any one or all 1, 2, or 3 of the fields and then save those changes. So what I'm going to do, so let's open our athletes page back up. We could make edit the last column. Typically, it's kind of convention if we have edit and delete links. We usually make delete as the final link. So we're going to add the edit column, but we'll put it before the delete column. So let's add on our athletes page, let's add another table heading. So where we had 4 headings before, now we have 5. And we'll put our edit heading in between the email heading and the delete heading.
Are you going to make a new PHP page for it?
We don't really need to make a new PHP page. We can repurpose the add form. It already has all the fields we need on it. So what we want to do, I mean, some people prefer to make a separate page for adding and editing. Generally, I prefer just to use the same page. It's got the same form, and then on our save page, we'll need to make a decision whether we're doing an insert or an update, right? Are we adding a new record with insert, or are we changing an existing record with update? So I find I like to just do that in one page.
Okay.
If you want to use different pages, that's fine. It's up to you. No problem. So now we've got the edit link at the top. So what else do we need to add on here? Yeah, so inside of our row, we also need an edit link. Hi, come on in, it's fine. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good.
Is it back in?
It's back. Sorry. Okay, is everybody okay to connect still?
Wirelessly, yes.
Okay, good. So after we have our email, but before we have our column with our delete link, we want an edit link instead to go before here. The edit link is going to look really similar to the delete link. We don't need the JavaScript confirmation for edit. That would just annoy our users. Are you sure you want to edit this record? I don't think we really need to check that. So after our email column, we'll put in a link. So what file, what URL should our edit link go to? Yeah, let's go to athlete singular. Would help if I spelled it right. And can we just link directly to athlete.php?
No, we need to.
Yeah, we're going to need to pass the ID of the selected record on so we can pre-fill that form. If we don't pass an ID, we're just going to give the user a blank page. So we'll pass on a key called athlete ID, and we'll pass it the exact same way. So I've just added the line in green. We've added a 4th column after the email, but before the delete. We want to link to our athlete page, and we want to pass in the selected record ID number. And our link can say edit. So we don't have to pass in an ID, but if not, the user's going to get a blank page every time, which is going to make them think we lost their information.
As long as I.
Right? If they click edit and you get a blank screen, you're going to think, uh-oh, what happened to my data? So you should be able to upload these changes back to the server. We should all still be connected. So I'm going to re-upload my athletes page, refresh it. So now we've got an edit link, and each one of them goes to athlete and passes in the ID, just the same way our ID gets passed to the delete page. So here's our version in a real application. What does this look like? Here's our list of data with edit links. The links just say details instead, and a delete link. So when I click, I get my form, and it's all pre-filled based on that ID number. Right? If I change the ID number, oh, that wasn't a very good idea. There's a control on here it doesn't like. My browser's going to hang for a little while. Okay, hello Chrome. We'll play with you for a while. That's okay. So we can take the athlete page we built back in week 2, and we're going to add some code to it so we can use it for both adding or editing. That page also has no styles on it, so we might want to include Bootstrap in there as well. Right? So here was our page from 3 weeks ago. If you don't have it, you can grab a copy from lesson 2 on Blackboard. Actually, you know what? You don't need to. I've given you a copy on Blackboard. So actually, don't take your copy, take mine, because I've added some stuff to it. So if you go into the Lesson 5 folder, here's what I want you to do. You can just follow along with me. So I'm going to go into Course Documents, into our folder for today. And here's all the HTML. It says this is the new athlete.php page for adding and updating. I've given you some of what you need, but not very much. I've given you some kind of placeholders. So copy all of that HTML. Copy everything here to the clipboard. So starting from the doc type all the way down to the end HTML. Okay. Then in your code editor, make a new PHP page. I'm going to delete everything that's here and paste in all of that code from Blackboard. And now I'm going to save this in my Lesson 5 folder. I'm going to save this as athlete.php. So here's our new version. It has all the same code we had from 3 weeks ago, but it also has, I've added a PHP section at the top with some comments. And then I've added in square brackets, wherever I've said something here, there's going to need to be some code so that we can fill in the first name, last name, and email values if the user is doing an edit. They don't get the blank page. I've also added in one new line here on line 40 that our file from 2 weeks ago doesn't have. So here's what I want you to do. This is not for marks. We'll go through this whole thing together, I want you to work with somebody else in the class if you can. Go through and see how much of this page you can get working. So the result we want is when we click on the edit link, this page will load, and the first name will show up in the first name box, the last name in the last name box, and the email in the email box. The result should be something like this. If I go, let's see, lesson 5, Wednesday. Okay, so this is a not as nice looking table, and it's called subscribers, but when I click edit beside someone, the form is pre-filled. Okay, so I want you to work with this page and see if you can get the code working. I'm happy to come around and help. I'm not grading you.
What's the last input field?
Okay, well, let's think about that. That's a good question. Why do we have 4 inputs? We have an input for first name, we have an input for last name, we have an input for email. I've added another input form. What other value will we need? Right, why would we need to have a separate field for the ID? Our add page, when we were adding, we didn't have it. John?
So that it will know what ID when you submit it.
Right, so when the user clicks the button, right, we're going to post the first name, last name, and email to the server, but we also need to post their ID so we know which record we're updating. If we don't have that ID, either nothing's going to get updated or else everything's going to get updated. We only want to update one record. So the ID's actually on here. Notice it's in the URL. You don't see an input with ID.
Oh, hidden. Right?
But here's our ID right here. The end user doesn't see it, but we want to have that on our form, as Fred said, so that when we, and John said, when we submit, we know which record we're updating. Okay? So you need to put the first name, last name, and email here, and then you also will need to put the ID down here. That's what that last input is. Okay? So I'm going to give you some time. I'm happy to walk around, help people out, work together, see how far you can get with all this. I'll show you. We'll go through all the code in a little while, and then we'll do the save page. Okay, but see how much you can do working with somebody else in the class.